I often talk about Walt Disney Animation Studios' future because the studio not only has their mojo back, but they also have a big future ahead of them because they have the right people, and there's not much executive interference anymore like there was during the Renaissance and afterwards. And I've talked about it in great detail many times, Meet the Robinsons, Bolt, The Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Winnie the Pooh. It's just, they're getting better and better. And you got Wreck-It Ralph coming out, it's right around the corner. And there's a lot of hype for that, and it has the potential to be an extremely good movie. Perhaps maybe their best one in years. Perhaps something that could even rival the older films, not the Renaissance movies, but perhaps the original classics, maybe the Big Five. I know that's a tall order, but you never know. It could live up to those films. The trailers, loved them both, even though I wasn't too crazy about the second one at first, but now I love it. And, I'm starting to see more TV spots. It's pretty much what I hoped it would be. It just looks like something really, really awesome. But I've talked about Wreck-It Ralph so many times, and Frozen. I've got the pre-trailer analysis, me speculating what it's going to be like before any images are revealed and such, or any more concept art. So, what's next? Well, currently, there are 3 projects in the works, but they're not scheduled for any release date. There's Big Hero 6, an adaptation of the Marvel Comics story. Mickey Mouse, basically a feature-length film based on, basically a feature-length Mickey Mouse film. You can only know how they're going to pull that off. And an untitled animated feature by Ron Clements and John Musker, the directors of The Little Mermaid, The Great Mouse Detective, Aladdin, The Princess and the Frog, Hercules, Treasure Planet, Ron and John, the Dream Team. So, very much looking forward to what Ron and John have in store for us. But before I get to that, I'm going to talk about Big Hero 6, which, I've been anticipating. Now that Disney owns Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, The Avengers was really, really good, and it looks as if Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Ant-Man are going to be epic. Well, I hope they are. And plus the Avengers 2, and anything that comes afterwards. But Phase 2 is looking good. But Disney is tackling a comic book adaptation. This is a first for their animated features, and it's actually going to be a co-production with Marvel Studios. So this is the first time Disney's in-house animation studio ever collaborated with another studio to do a feature-length film. So it's going to be interesting seeing the Walt Disney Animation Studios logo and the Marvel logo before the movie. And I have no idea how they're going to do it. They're going to do it in computer animation or hand-drawn. I honestly hope it's in hand-drawn because I've seen some of the comics and it has a manga style, and it'd be cool if Disney completely went against their style and did an anime style, a Japanese anime style film. That would be so awesome. That it really would be. It would just be fantastic. That would be a great stylistic departure from the older films. And I said this on the blog, because, they did it with Lilo and Stitch, Atlantis. They can do it for this film. That would be so awesome. Don Hull is directing it. He's been with Disney for years, and, he's a story supervisor on Tarzan and The Princess and the Frog, and he directed Winnie the Pooh. It's going to be awesome. And when they announced it, they were kind of hoping it would be released in 2014, but maybe not. Maybe 2015. The Mickey Mouse film, I've mentioned this many times on the blog, they can go whichever direction they go with it. I just hope it's hand-drawn. I don't want to see a CGI Mickey movie. And something that's good, something that's respectful to the legacy of the character, and not something trying to modernize it. I mean, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse can go to hell. Screw that shit. I just hope it's something really good. I mean, when I've thought about it, I thought of Mickey and the Beanstalk, and that was a pretty solid, roughly 30-minute adventure starring Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. So they could pull off a decent movie. And I'm not talking about something like the Mickey Mouse Three Musketeers, which I never saw. I'm talking about something really cool. Like a really cool adventure Mickey and his friends embark on. There's potential in that. Even though it's a bit safe, it still can be a very good film. I don't know when Walt Disney Animation Studios will ever get around to starting production on it, or if they'll, even greenlight it. Maybe they won't do it at all. But, you know, it could be good. As long as it's a good movie and not a stupid retro revival. And, of course, you know, we got Disney doing this. Not somebody else. They own that character. They can make a good movie. If they don't, and this is Walt Disney Animation Studios we're talking here, then there's going to be quite a backlash. And then you got Ron and John's film, and rumors were going around that Ron and John's film was going to be done in the same style as John Carr's Paperman, which is the short film that's going to debut before Wreck-It Ralph this November. You know, this seamless combo of hand-drawn and computer animation. I've talked about it in great detail on the blog. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing this short film. This is the new frontier for Disney animation, pretty much. This is a new beginning. And hopefully, those rumors are true, that Ron and John's film is going to be done in that style. If not, I'll still be happy, because it's still going to be a hand-drawn film. Again, bring back hand-drawn. The Princess and the Frog could have been a success, and Winnie the Pooh was gap filler, despite being a good movie. But this is it. This is going to be the comeback. This should be the comeback. Rumors. There's not much on the plot or what the title is going to be. All we know is that Ron and John went on a trip to the South Pacific for research, so I can only imagine what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be an adaptation of South Pacific, but I can't see Disney adapting that, so yeah. But then again, they could. They adapted Hunchback and did a good job. Maybe it won't be South Pacific. Maybe it'll be something completely different. As for future projects, who knows? There are several projects that Disney canceled over time, and a lot of people are rediscovering them. There was a great article on Barry Cook's My Peoples, also known as A Few Good Ghosts, which has surfaced. I think it was on animatedviews.com. I'll provide the link below when I find it. But, you know, I think Cook said something along the lines of he wanted to go back to that project if he had the chance to, and maybe one day he can bring it to John Lasseter, and John Lasseter can approve of it. That project was canceled. It was in the works around 2002, 2003, but then it was going to be done by the Florida Animation Unit, but it was torpedoed because Michael Eisner and, you know, the management at Disney shut down the Florida Animation Unit after Brother Bear came out. Even though Brother Bear made a profit, they still shut it down. You know, it was the whole, yeah, let's not bring that back up. You know, the whole executive, you know, thinking hand-drawn animation was dead and nobody liked it anymore. That's why My Peoples, aka A Few Good Ghosts, was canceled. So they could bring it back. Another project that was on and off was King of the Elves, which I've talked about before. King of the Elves just keeps getting canceled. According to Blue Sky Disney, it was either Frozen or King of the Elves that was going to be the 2013 release, and Frozen was picked because it had the stronger story and screenplay. So apparently every time they keep trying to do King of the Elves, it runs into major league problems. I'd love to see it happen, as long as it turns out to be good. I mean, why demand it when the story isn't working? I'd rather have a good King of the Elves than one that's bad, so who knows when they'll ever do King of the Elves. It has so much potential, and they should do it as a hand-drawn film, too. But the history of Disney is filled with projects that never made it. Look into it, look up the list of unreleased Disney films. You'll see lots of great projects on there that had a lot of potential. One of my favorites being Ron and John's Frady Cat, and, you know, Don Quixote could have made for a good film, too. There were a couple others that got canned that could have been really, really cool, because at the time Disney was just so dysfunctional, you know, with the executives, all the shareholders, so maybe in the future they could bring those back. Now, Roy E. Disney's son, Roy P. Disney, also hinted at a third Fantasia film at D23 earlier this year. Now, if that's true, then that's totally exciting news. But they'll probably wait till 2020 to release it. It would make sense, Fantasia 2020. And Fantasia 2000, good as it was, it wasn't as good as Fantasia, so this one has the chance to really be experimental and bold. And what happened was, they were going to have... Fantasia 2000 really isn't a sequel to Fantasia, but more like what Walt wanted, to re-release Fantasia every 5 years or so and add new sequences and drop old ones. And for Fantasia 2000, they were going to have 3 segments from the original Fantasia, but they cut those 2 out because they were, again, trying to pander to kids and not make it boring for them. Too bad. Fantasia was never really for kids in the first place, or any of the older Disney films. For the family. But Fantasia was definitely more for the adults. And Walt knew it. Everyone knew it at the time. Anyways, Fantasia 2000 was kind of like... Fantasia 2000 was shorter, much easier for kids to sit through. Fantasia 2020 should not be like that. But also, somewhere down the road, they were going to do a third Fantasia called Fantasia 2006, which was going to have Lorenzo, the little match girl, One by One, and Destino. And presumably a few sequences from the original Fantasia was going to be... It was going to have all these different styles, all these international styles of music. And why they canceled that? I don't know. Had a lot of potential. But the individual shorts were released elsewhere. Which is too bad because, they could have made it. Originally, they were going to be released on the Fantasia Blu-ray, back when it was actually labeled a Diamond Edition, but that Fantasia World disc was scrapped. I will never know why. Maybe one day they'll re-release Fantasia and Fantasia 2000 on Blu-ray and release those shorts. Because the fact that they pulled that disc and all those bonus features, what a shame. People should see these short films, not have to search around for them on various DVD releases or on YouTube. They should be readily available. Well, at least they put Destino on there. I give them credit for that, but come on. I wanted Lorenzo on that set. I wanted One by One on that set. I wanted Little Match Girl on that set. Come on. Anyways, if they do Fantasia 2020, they could put those in the movie, plus some scenes from the original Fantasia and Fantasia 2000, because remember, that was the plan, to keep scenes and also add new ones. So it could be a nice mix, and it could be a 2-hour epic like the original. They can even do an intermission, too. Risky as hell in a commercial sense, which is why Fantasia 2000 wasn't anything like... Which is why Fantasia 2000 wasn't like the original Fantasia in that sense. Much shorter, But again, they could do it. They could do it and market it as a more adult thing, which they should. And it could be a success. You never know. It'll just be very costly, as Fantasia 2000 was. And Fantasia 2000 was sort of a box office disappointment. So, Fantasia 2020, or whenever the hell it'll come out, if they even make it, I hope it's a reality. That would be a crowning... That would just be a great moment for animation. And they can mix different animation styles, hand-drawn CG, or maybe something completely different. You know how in The Princess and the Frog, with the Almost There sequence, or the Baxton song from Winnie the Pooh, where the animation style changes? That would be awesome. That would be truly cooler. Even a non-Disney example like Kung Fu Panda 2, where the animation style changes for post-flashbacks. They should do something like that for Fantasia 2020. That would just be so awesome. I love when the art style changes in an animated film, and something like Fantasia would be perfect for that. Perfect! It's got to happen, Disney. If any of you from Disney are watching this video, make it happen. Please. Make it happen. Pretty please. Other than that, Disney's pretty hush-hush on their upcoming projects. And maybe for a good reason. They want to surprise us. So we'll never know what's coming. There's also talk of a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, because Wreck-It Ralph is poised to be a huge hit, and there's more video game worlds to explore. Since there's 3 in the movie since there's only 3 in the movie, Fix-It Felix Jr., Hero's Duty, and Sugar Rush. So, if they do a sequel, they can visit more games. That is, if they do one, because Walt Disney Animation Studios, and you gotta give them credit for this, they don't do sequels. They only did 2 sequels. They only did 2 sequels. The Rescuers Down Under and Fantasia 2000, if you want to call Fantasia 2000 a sequel. And there you have it. Then you can also consider Three Caballeros a sequel to Saludos Amigos, and Melody Time a sort of semi-sequel to Make Mine Music, but, you know, I'd consider just The Rescuers and The Rescuers Down Under and Fantasia 2000, so they make a Wreck-It Ralph sequel. That would be kind of rare, because, you know, they won't make a Tangled 2 or Princess and the Frog 2. They just don't do theatrical sequels. And, you know, I applaud them for that. Even though it was for different reasons, not because of, you know, not for creative reasons, because Rescuers Down Under was viewed as a bomb in Disney's eyes, and that's why they did all the direct-to-video sequels and no theatrical sequels. And don't even mention Return to Neverland or The Jungle Book 2. Those were produced by the direct-to-video studio and just happened to be released in movie theaters. Kind of like how Bambi 2 was released in movie theaters in Europe. Yeah. Don't count those. I'm talking about the in-house productions. You know, Rescuers Down Under, Fantasia 2000. Yeah, so basically, if they do a Wreck-It Ralph sequel, that would be, you know, just be a rare moment for Walt Disney Animation Studios. Because they really don't do sequels. And and I applaud them for that. They're not like Sony Pictures Animation or Blue Sky or DreamWorks where, you know, they just want to make sequels. And even though DreamWorks, you know, I'm not trying to accuse them of being sequel factories, because, you know, at least DreamWorks does a lot of original projects at the same time as their sequels, but still. It's just shocking to see a big animation company not doing theatrical sequels to their animated films. They're bread and butter. That's pretty much it for Disney. Who knows what the future will have in store for us. Something's cooking. I bet some real big surprises are cooking right now at the Mouse House, so you never know.